Hello friends, welcome again to Nanaba's Kitchen. And if you are joining us for the first time today, as always, a very warm welcome to you and thank you so much for choosing to stop by. Today on the menu is our tasty bean stew recipe in which we're using black-eyed peas. Now what I'm offering to you in this recipe is a smoky taste, smoky flavor. So we're going to be layering a lot of different smoky ingredients, all fresh. I can't wait to get started, so let's wash our hands and begin. Yes friends, so for this recipe we need 3 level cups of black-eyed beans and we're going to soak it for an hour to soften the beans and also to help quicken the cooking time. Now friends, a couple of things to consider while you soak your beans. First, you need a big bowl because as the beans soaks, it swells and doubles in size. So you need enough space within the bowl to accommodate all that swelling that happens. Now I use 1.5 liters of water, that's tap water, to soak the beans. So you want the beans to be always immersed in the water. You don't want the beans to be ever above the water level. Okay, so it needs to be always beneath it. So as it swells and soaks up the water, you still want enough water around the beans. So it's been an hour and now we're ready to just cleanse the beans and then get ready to cook it. And wash your beans thoroughly until the water turns clear, just like that. Now pour the washed beans into your pot and add 1 liter of water to it. And I'm also going to begin the layering of flavors at this time. So I'm adding half a large onion to it. So the first layer of smoky flavor that I added to my beans will be my homemade dry smoked shrimps. They are delicious. So about a handful of that goes into the pot with the onions. And then I add 1 liter of water to it. Cover the pot and cook for 25 minutes. It cooked until the beans is nice and tender, almost mushy. As the beans cooks, I have 25 minutes to prep the rest of my ingredients. I do have some dry smoked fish which I purchased from the African store. I have some herrings, some river fish, and I also have stockfish that's going into the bowl right now. They are bone dry, so they need to be rehydrated. So I'm pouring in some hot boiling water and I'm going to cover it with a cling film and let it sit for about 15 to 20 minutes so that they have a chance to rehydrate. And that gives me more time to prep the rest of my other ingredients. So into my blender, I have 2 Guajillo peppers, which are available at Mexican stores. Brings you that smokiness, and I've added a habanero chili for a kick and that fresh chili flavor. And I have a teaspoon of ginger paste, half a teaspoon of garlic. And then also I have added a handful of my homemade dry smoked shrimp and 2 Roma tomatoes just joined the mixture. And I'm also adding a medium-sized white onion. And the next smoky ingredient I will be adding to this recipe is a large green bell pepper, which I will introduce some char to on an open flame as I am doing here. These multiple layers of smokiness and fresh ingredients really helps to take this bean stew recipe to the next level and makes it so delightful to eat. Once you're done charring your bell pepper, you're going to remove the flesh as well as the char from the seeds and add it to the blender. We are going to blend all of these ingredients together. The beans has been cooking for 25 minutes, so it's nice and tender, soft, almost mushy, and that's exactly what you want. You're going to go in and remove that onion from the beginning. Yes, we're going to add it to the ingredients that we're going to be blending. We also need about a ladle full of the beans broth to add to the mixture that we're going to be blending, just to help propel the blades of our blender. Blend all these ingredients together until you get a lovely puree. Now we're almost done prepping all of our ingredients for the bean stew preparation. And the dry smoked fish also have had a chance to beautifully rehydrate. So now we're going to remove the bones and shred the meat. We don't want to finely shred the meat. We just really want some texture. So just like that. You want it to be nice and chunky, not too fine. And do the best you can to remove all the bones, especially from the herrings. If you do end up using the dry smoked herrings, they do have a lot of pin bones. So do the best you can to remove them all. And here comes the stockfish, which is also beautifully rehydrated. The umami it brings to this dish is to die for. It is available to you at your African stores. I have a Serrano chili that I have thinly sliced. It's an optional ingredient, but I love that fresh chili flavor. You can use your SHITO if you have that available, or you can just omit that step. I also have 1 large onion thinly sliced, and to the pot I am adding 3 tablespoons of my cold pressed coconut oil, as well as a 1/4 cup of my palm nut oil. So that combination is even more flavor. Melt it up, add your onions and your Serrano chilies thinly sliced, and cook for about a minute. But before that, you're also going to be adding momone. Momone is cured fish. It is moist and it brings another level of umami. That is it right there going into the pot. So you're going to cook for about 1 to 2 minutes. Now you want to season as you go. The momone does have a little salt in it, so, or a whole lot of salt, but you still want to season as you go because we're using a lot of ingredients here, so the salt content is going to be diluted as we go anyway. So add your salt, and I also added some freshly crushed black pepper, and now in goes our blended mixture of ingredients. And you're going to stir everything together and cook for about 10 minutes until a little bit of the moisture is evaporated or cooked down. Cover the pot and let it cook for about 10 minutes on low to medium heat. Now after 10 minutes of cooking the stew, we still have some moisture in it, and that's totally perfect because we're going to be adding our rehydrated fish to it at this point. And they're just going to cook together, and the flavors are going to have that chance to marry nicely. So stir all of that in and continue cooking, but you want to check and taste for seasoning as you go. So I'm adding a little more salt, and I'm going to just stir all of that in to combine it perfectly and continue to cook. And we continue to cook on low to medium heat, and after about 5 extra minutes of cooking, most of the oil should settle back on the top of the stew, just like that. So you're not going to go and stir it up. It's lost most of its moisture, so it's a perfect time to add our next ingredient. You can tell the stew is perfectly cooked at this point, and it looks so delicious, and it really tasted really good. We are ready to add our next ingredient. All the fish I have added so far to this stew renders a chewy texture, but I want a meaty texture as well. So I had a steak of king mackerel. I seasoned it with some salt, crushed black pepper, smoked paprika, and granulated garlic, and I threw it into my oven with some olive oil on it and grilled it for about 15 minutes. And now all I'm doing is shredding it into big chunks and also removing any of the bones. And I'm adding it to it. And so now I have a meaty texture, and it's very delicious fish too. So it's just perfect. Stir to combine. And remember, all your components are cooked already, so you don't need to cook any further. Now we're ready to add our beans, and this is the texture I like. I like to mash it up slightly, but not all the way. I want to see the grains of beans in the stew, just like that. And I know my stew looks really thick, but that's how I like it. I like my bean stew to be thick. But if you like yours a little thinner, you can always add some water or broth to thin it up. Now at this point you want to turn your heat down to the lowest setting because it can easily burn. And after 10 minutes of cooking on the lowest setting, your bean stew will be done and ready to serve. Now to serve, I fried up some ripened plantain. I added a little bit of salt to it, grated some fresh ginger onto it as well, and deep fried it to perfection. And that's how I served it. And I served it two ways. Coming up shortly, you'll see. I added some avocado. That's an optional way to serve it. And I also used some freshly thinly sliced onions for a little bit of crunch and freshness. And I added a little bit of gari. So this is the first way. Here's your plantain, and here goes the gari. And here with some onions, freshly sliced onions soaked in some ice water to take a little bit of the pungency away. It's a really beautiful way of serving this dish. I really hope that you're inspired to try the recipe. I thank you all so much for watching, for your love and your support. Make it a great day, and as always, have fun, especially in that kitchen.